Hey everybody, my name is Jasmine and you are watching Faithfully Uncool. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'm in a super happy mood because Christmas is around the corner, so hopefully you're really excited about that too. But today I'm going to talk about something that actually makes me a little less happy. And that is this concept of the perfect Christian woman or perfect godly woman, or however people want to say it. I know that those terms are used for men as well, so Christian man, godly man, and that has its standards too. But of course, I do believe that society puts an uneven set of standards on women, and the church can reflect that sometimes. So this video right off the bat, I'll tell you, will look more at a feminine perspective because I'm a woman, so I'm going to speak from the woman point of view. And some things that I think supposedly make someone look like a godly woman, and why I think that that term is sort of a myth, and this idea of a good girl is a myth, so to speak. So if that's something that interests you, please stay tuned and let's get right into it. Alright, so this video is just going to be like kind of a list of things that I think people tend to assume that like a good Christian girl wouldn't do. If you're coming from a more like liberal or progressive understanding, then these are probably going to be like what you would consider a more conservative assumption of Christians or Christian women. It's whatever. I don't know how you think. I'm just trying to give little disclaimers. But in any case, the first one I'm going to talk about is this idea of like no drinking. So no drinking alcohol. And this is something that I find really interesting because when I was in college, I definitely drank. I still drink. I like drinking a lot, actually. But I know that for sure I once was talking to this guy and he knew that I was a Christian and I guess had assumed that I didn't drink. And so we were talking to one another and he mentioned like how he prepares a certain like cocktail or how he prepares a certain drink or something. And I just didn't know what went into that particular drink because I hadn't had it. And so I was like, oh, like I didn't know that. And he made this kind of comment like, oh, well, you don't drink, so you wouldn't. And I just kind of looked at him like, who told you that? You know? And it wasn't an offensive thing. It was just one of those assumption things. So I don't know if you're someone watching this, but I know for sure because I guess I just have that kind of face or that good girl attitude. I don't know. I'm very respectful towards people, so I don't know if it's just the way I come across because I try to be really polite or something. But usually people will make just generalizations or assumptions about me, and they're not bad things. They just happen to be wrong. And it's one of those things that kind of makes me scratch my head and go, no, I actually do that, but I'm, I still am a nice person. That happens to be something that I do. Because I don't think it has anything to do with my character. It's just something I do. So in moderation, I think drinking is fine. But I do find it interesting that sometimes people make the assumption that you just don't or can't when they know that you are a Christian. So the next one would be something that maybe you do because it's like just your preference, or maybe you don't. But I've definitely had the case where, so I guess to disclaim this, like when I was in college, I was a part of two different Christian ministries, like two different Christian organizations. And so I think like one was a bit bigger and we had small groups and stuff like that, but then the other one was a lot smaller and, just a different feel. So they both did their own thing and were good in their own ways, but I think for me, I kind of stood a bit in the middle because for me, college was when I really started to follow Christ as an adult. And I'll do a whole testimony video to kind of make that make more sense. But in any case, I remember that I was at one college campus ministry that I'll just say the smaller one was probably the more conservative one, I guess you could say. So I was at that one, we were at a meeting or something, and I remember like the topic of music and what music you listen to comes about. And one of the guys that was in our group was talking about, the type of music that he listens to, and one girl was talking about the music that she listens to, and it was fine. But then I remember like it came to like Beyonce or whatever, because the guy was saying like, oh, I don't really listen to Beyonce, like I don't know a lot about her music and stuff like that, because it just wasn't his type of music, which was fine. But then I know like the girl next to me was like, oh, I know about Beyonce, but I just stopped listening to her when I became a Christian. Like I stopped listening to that kind of music. I was sitting at the table like, My music tastes are pretty flexible. I mean, I'm not in the mood for everything all the time, and I won't listen to every single song by every single artist. But no Beyonce? Beyonce has never tested my faith, honestly. So, I mean, to each their own, right? But there's just like this generalization of like only Christian music is the best, or secular music is like not good, right? And it's just this, again, this assumption or this generalization about Christians that I think is not only mostly not true, but also just, again, doesn't really speak to the actual character of the person. I mean, anyone can say they don't listen to anything. It doesn't have anything to do with how they treat people or how they act or how much they love God. So the third thing is something that admittedly I'm actually trying to not do as often because I don't want to do it. And I think that it's something like it's a bad habit of mine that I actually don't want to do. But it is this idea that you shouldn't curse, or like as a godly woman you should never curse, or you should rarely curse, whatever. Listen, it is what it is. For me, I'm one of those people that, like, a lot of people who have heard me curse, like, the reaction is always the same. It doesn't matter if it's like a Christian friend or a non-Christian friend who hears me curse. They're always like, like they didn't know that I knew that word in the English language, kind of just shock. Okay, like I distinctly remember walking with a friend of mine, and it was so bad because we were actually going to go to like church, like not like church like Sunday, but like our Christian ministry organization like meeting on Wednesday, and it was so bad. I mean, when I say like I had just had a bad day, like it was just a bad day. Like I was just not in a good mood. I was hungry, and if you've ever met me and like you've met me when I'm hungry, I am sorry, because that was just not like, I probably just was not the best person. Like I don't know what it is. Like my hanger is something else. It's something else. Like it needs to be diagnosed as something else. But I was just like rough day, starving, and our like group Wednesday gathering for the ministry started at like 7, I think. So we were headed there, but where I thought it was not where I thought it was. Like we were meeting at a totally separate location. But I had crafted it so that when I got my Subway, I could just like walk from where the Subway was right across the hall to where our group meetings were. But then our group meeting was changed, and it was like in a totally different building, like maybe like a 10-minute walk away, I think. And I didn't remember. So I'm walking like sub in hand, starving, and we saw the sign up that said like, oh, campus, ministry meeting moved, whatever. And I just like let out the loudest F-bomb of my life. Like it was just so passionate too. Like I felt that in my core. It was like the whole day bubbled up and just spit out. And she looked at me like she had never seen me before in her life. Like she was like she was shocked, shooketh. And I was like, I am so sorry, but like this is not the day. But yeah, so I think that there's this assumption that like you shouldn't curse or you don't curse, right? And so I'm not bothered when people are shocked by it, because I don't pride myself on cursing. I don't think any of us do. But it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, like it happens, like it happens because I'm human, kind of things. And I don't think it's always the best when people like are so shocked, because then it's like, I don't know what kind of pedestal you had me on, but I'm totally capable of having a crappy day, and it's totally capable of coming out of my mouth in a way that's not the most flattering. So yeah, no cursing. Definitely one that I think is sort of an assumption made, but not always true, unfortunately. All right, so the next one is something that's kind of like the whole drinking thing. Like it's purely preferential, but people might still assume that you just don't do it because naturally they just associate like, oh, you're a Christian, oh, you're a good girl. You don't do that. You don't have that. And that would be tattoos. So I remember that when I was graduating from college, I really wanted to get a tattoo. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get a tattoo was twofold. So number one, like I said, I became closer to Christ in college. So I knew that I wanted to get a tattoo to kind of commemorate that, because I thought that it would just be really special to get one. I was always kind of interested in getting one, but tattoos were something where it's like, if I have no reason or nothing calling me to really get one, then I'm not going to permanently put something on my body. So I was just like never really into it. But I thought when I graduated, I might give myself that graduation gift. And then the second reason, nobody would expect me to have one. Even when I tell people that I have one, they're really surprised. Or when people see it like peeking out from my shoulder, because it's on my right shoulder. It's this cross here. I don't even know if you can see it. It has like a dove inside of it. I have no idea if that's like, yeah. I have no idea if you saw that clearly. It doesn't matter. Check my Instagram. But when people like see it, they're like, oh, I didn't know you had a tattoo. Or like, oh my gosh, you have a tattoo. Like, did it hurt? Blah, 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 blah. And no, it didn't hurt because of the area I got it on. But also, it's just like, yeah, I got one because I wanted one. And I think that there's just this assumption that like people, especially women that are Christian and what people put in like the good girl category, whatever that's supposed to mean, don't have tattoos. And that is very far from the truth. So there we have it. Those are 5 things that I think are wrapped up in this whole myth of being a good girl. So maybe after this you're wondering, well, what makes you a good girl? What makes you a good person? Because that's the better question, right? Doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy or something in between or neither or a cat. Like, what makes you good? And that's that you're respectful. That's that you're kind. That's that you have a relationship with Christ that matters to you and that you're trying to live by. And maybe by having that relationship with Christ, you are not cursing, or you're not drinking, or you are doing any other thing that I listed, you know? And I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that sometimes when people look for only these types of things, it can make them so obsessed with the ritualistic and external look of religion that they forget the internal importance and heart matter of faith, which is much more significant when you're looking to see, you know, what makes someone a particular Christian person. Those are things that you specifically, authentically don't do, then don't do them. But if there are things that you feel like you're being pressured not to do to kind of prove something to other people, then I would rethink that. And that's all. So I hope that this made sense. I hope that it made people think a little bit. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one. Go in peace.